I'm going to start this video with a quote from Robert Kiyosaki, who is the author of the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book. If you haven't read that book, I recommend you do. Anyway, Robert Kiyosaki says, "Savers are losers." Hi there. So reading the morning paper today, I came across an article by Glenn Motz, our local MP. And while normally I don't agree with Glenn on most things, I do agree with many of his points in this one. Take a look. Historically, Canada knows the impact of uncontrollable debt. In post-budget media interviews, Trudeau and his finance minister repeatedly stressed, with interest rates currently so low, now is the time to borrow and spend. Okay, however, a big segment of taxpayers will remember in the 1970s, another Trudeau Prime Minister ran up massive debt to accommodate larger federal government, expanded social programs, and spending. That Liberal did this by printing more money, getting loans from international markets, and running deficits. The result of that borrowing and higher debt cost was inflation. The dollar bought less and everything cost more. At its peak, Canada saw 18% interest rates. Today's question isn't if interest rates and inflation will hit Canada, but rather when and by how much. Seems pretty clear to me that inflation is on the rise. Just look at your local cost of lumber. If we are indeed going to see inflation rates like in the 1970s, what should we do about it? Don't look at me, I don't know. Let's Google it. Aid investments to protect against post-COVID-19 inflation spike. Okay. Let's wonder what number one on this list would be. Protection through real assets. Oh, look at that. Real estate. People need a roof over their heads, so they pay the going rate for housing, whatever that is in today's currency. The value of the dollar this is American, is roughly half in 30 years from 1990 to 2020. The median home price has reached $346,800. Note that home prices outpaced inflation significantly. Home prices nearly tripled their 1990 values, even though the US dollar only dropped half its value over the 30 years. So how can investors take advantage of real estate inflation-resistant power? What was that? Buy a rental property. I don't know. Seems like good advice to me. Well, that got me thinking. So then I decided to watch some YouTube videos on the subject. And one that really caught my eye was by David Hartman. I'll provide a link to it in my description below if you want to watch it as well. But I learned that yes, inflation is bad because it eats away at your money. But inflation can also be good. Not only does it eat away at your money, it will also eat away at your debt. And then he provided an example of someone who bought a house in 1972 and what happened over that period when inflation rose. Guess I'll have to don the glasses for this segment. Okay, so the year is 1972. These people bought a house that was worth just over $18,000. They put down 20%, so they had to borrow just over $14,000. The mortgage rate at the time was 7.3%, and they did that over a 30-year term. Now let's fast forward to 1984. With inflation, $1 borrowed in 1972 is now worth 40 cents. Okay? Their mortgage payment in 1972 was $101. Their mortgage payment in 1984 was $101. But that $101 in 1984 is only equal to just $41 in 1972. Now let's look at what happens after the 30-year term. Inflation was on average 5.1%. Total payments on the house came to just over $36,000 they had to pay. But if you account for inflation, that $36,000 is equal to just over $16,000 of 1972 money. So they paid just a couple $1,000s. So they thought they were paying 7.3%, but in reality, it worked out to just 1.06%. Now it gets even better here, okay? Because the interest on the loan was tax deductible. And if you take into account these deductions, they only paid back just over $12,000, okay? So they borrowed 14 and they paid back 12. They literally got paid to borrow money. Now, what we are seeing today are the lowest interest rates in recorded history. That's why the cost of housing is going nuts. And to exacerbate this, we have high immigration and looming inflation. It's no wonder that people with money are putting it into real estate. So, for those of you that are nervous or scared, to borrow money from the banks, I just want to let you know that I'm on the other end of that spectrum. I'm scared not to, because I don't want to lose out to inflation. Okay, I'm going to end this video with another quote from Robert Kiyosaki. Mr. Kiyosaki says, "Debt is the new asset." Right. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks.